What's good, gang? It is one of your co-hosts here, Kodey Stoffer.
Gang. And I'm the other one, Coach V.
All right. And so we are back for the series finale and this is the big kahuna right here for our top 5 seniors by position here in Colorado. And it is quarterback time. This is probably on the cusp of a lot of controversy, and there's been a lot of waiting for it, but this is what we do. We watch the film, we tell you how it is, and I think the big thing is that we, throughout this series, have invested a lot more into watching nationally the talent across the country here. And, I think that helped with these evaluations, and we also have some opinions on some national prospects. But before we talk about our specific opinions on prospects, let's talk about the process here, where we look at 10 different categories scored from 1 to 10, and then we add those up out of 100, and then we take the average score between myself and Coach V, and that average score is what determines our top 5 here. And so when looking at these categories, we score on a scale of 1 to 10, like I said, where 1 through 3 needs improvement. You could be benched. 4 to 6 is average, maybe a little bit inconsistent, but, shows flashes. And then 7 to 8, that's, above average to good. It's something that is a staple of their performance here. And it's a little bit more consistent here. It's about 2 to 3 star here. And then 8 to 9 is that good to great, 3 to 4 star, obviously 9 plus in that 5-star range. And, it's something that's always going to come up. Even at its worst, it's still better than most. And it's way consistent, I would say, as well, is where you start to get into these finite details, is how consistently can they perform this and what is the ceiling of that skill. So we use those 1 through 10 for arm power, arm accuracy, timing on throws, overall mechanics / fluidity, decision-making skills, scramble ability, throw on the run ability, pocket awareness, pocket movement, frame / size, and then add all of those up. Now, before we talk about the Colorado prospects, we evaluated two of the highest rated quarterbacks in the nation here with DJ Lagway here and Dylan Raiola. I'm going to start off with DJ first here and just say my overall grade for him, the Florida commit, was a 91.4. And I mean, I had basically wrote a whole novel while evaluating this guy, just saying that he's relentless with scrambling with the ability to shrug off tackles and make anyone miss. Smoke comes off the ball with incredible velocity on each of his throws. He squeezes it into tight windows and shows timing. He's fast enough to win foot races and split safeties with incredible speed and balance. He has nice ball placement on a variety of routes with back shoulders, seams, and comebacks also being in there, and also makes the reads and pulls the trigger when he sees them. He maybe sees some routes late, but far less often than he sees them on time. He's very comfortable on timing and velocity throws over the middle. He doesn't lead his receivers as much as I would like, but they can always make a play on the ball. He does put effort into squaring up his shoulders when he throws to best deliver strikes. This includes on the run. His arm for windups goes a little bit lower than I would want, but he still gets the ball out quickly, and I feel like the way he throws it might be a little bit tough on his elbow over the period of a long career, which this dude should have. And that's both a testament to his size and all of the things that he does so well. Now, obviously, this gets a little bit nitpicky here, talking about how his feet can get a little close together, but he's very maneuverable, and his sidesteps when maneuvering the pocket are next level. This line always feels like he has pressure in his face, in which he responds very well, maneuvering the pocket or breaking towards the open scramble lanes. He's patient and steps up so well and senses pressure fantastically. He puts the ball in great spots. I really think that when his receivers aren't as led, it's more of a timing issue since his pocket is constantly collapsing. But when his pocket is clean, so is the timing of his throws. So, I mean, scramble ability of a 9.7, arm accuracy of a 9.6 are his high grades, and his lowest ones are an 8.7 on timing and an 8.6 on overall mechanics. And that's like being pretty damn picky with it, I would say. Coach V, you and I were pretty close on our overall score, and for the most part, our overall assessment of DJ here, why don't you talk about DJ Lagway just a little bit, and then let's talk about the other quarterback who maybe we don't share the same opinion as the national media does.
Nah, we don't. So with DJ Lagway, I think he's the best quarterback in this class, and it's pretty easy. Look at the film of the other guys. The current number one consensus quarterback in this class of 2024, Dylan Raiola, who just committed to Nebraska. And I don't understand how DJ isn't rated so much higher than him. Look, first off, from a pure athlete perspective, he's just better. 9.7 arm power, 9.7 scrambling ability. This is a kid that is, just watching his highlight reel and just watching through his film, he's arguably the best high school quarterback I've ever seen. Or one of the, okay, let me chill out. Not the best, because that would probably be Kyler Murray. But I think as far as great quarterbacks go, he's definitely up there with Kyler. He's bigger than him, first off. He's 6 foot plus, so there's that. So a big-bodied quarterback with a crazy arm, which, as far as raw power goes, Kyler didn't have the arm that DJ has right now. I would agree that the mechanics do need to be tweaked so that it helps him, prolong his career. But a crazy, just raw powered arm, which, I don't know. He could throw probably, he should definitely throw full lengths of the field, but I just think just watching him flick that wrist and seeing how far that ball goes is absolutely insane, and seeing how many tight windows he could fit it in. Love to see that. Definitely on the level of, as far as arm power goes, he's probably in that Anthony Richardson, probably Josh Allen type range where they could just flick it and it goes like 100 yards, right? That's what DJ Lagway has. But as a scrambler, first off, he's a bigger dude. So he's going to shrug off a lot of tackles. Like one-on-one, if you square up with him, he's going to throw a shoulder into you and run you over. Or he's just going to outrun you because he has insane acceleration, good agility. Not as good as like Lamar Jackson or Kyler coming out of high school, but still pretty, he could put a move on you, But more so, if he gets out into open field, he's gone. Just watching him run reminds me of RG3 back in the college days over at Waco at Baylor. When he hits that open space, he's a sprinter. He's a track runner over there. And it's insane just seeing him get, just hit, home run touchdown plays just by running the ball. And so, absolutely loved his film. I think he's very well put together. I won't last too long or talk about him too long here because we have a lot of other quarterbacks to talk about, but just a great player, number one, going to Florida. And in my honest opinion, I'm throwing this out there right now, in 3, 4, 5 years, whenever he decides to enter the NFL draft, I think he could be in the conversation for the number one overall pick right now. That's how confident I am in his abilities, assuming, he doesn't get hurt, knock on wood, and assuming Florida knows how to develop him, but that's a whole nother thing. Now, talking about the consensus number one overall pick, my overall grade for him was an 86.3. That's Dylan Raiola. Originally was committed to Georgia, and I think actually before that it was another school like A&M or something like that, but then he decommitted, committed to Georgia, then flipped again, went to Nebraska. Just like the high schools he transferred from, went to 3 different high schools, starting in Arizona, then going to Texas, or I think maybe starting in Texas, going to Arizona, and then going to Georgia here. So 3 different schools here. And, there's definitely talent. He has a good arm. All the TikTokers who make videos about him are like, is this the next Patrick Mahomes? That's literally their tagline for him. And no, he's not the next Patrick Mahomes outside of the fact that he can't throw off platform. But so can everyone else. And I just wasn't really impressed. I think he's really raw. I'm going to be honest, I don't know him like that. But I think the lack of being in a system for more than 1 year very much hurt his development. And a lot of people got hung up on who he was as a player, as a freshman, and didn't really consider, he's a senior now. He's still playing at a really high level for somebody who would be a freshman quarterback, but as a senior quarterback, it's fine. It's about average in my opinion. I mean, he's a 3-star, and I think he gets a lot of nepotism and a lot of favoritism because he is the son of not an NFL quarterback, but of a former NFL player, Dominic Raiola, who played defensive lineman, I'm pretty sure, for the Lions. And I don't know, man. I think he is arguably getting a lot more passes for his nepotism than Arch Manning, who is getting slandered, and I get it. He committed to UT. I feel like UT players get treated the same as Cowboys players, even though they're good. They get hated on regardless. I think that's a known thing when it comes to Texas football players. But the amount of passes Dylan Raiola is getting compared to Arch Manning is absolutely insane to me for the player that he is. And looking at Dylan Raiola, I mean, it didn't really help give a good baseline for the Colorado players that we'll be evaluating here, because Kodey, we feel like some Colorado players are better than him. What do you think about what I just said there? I know a lot of people probably already tuned out, but I honestly don't care. I just don't think he's that good.
Look, his arm power is special. There's just some things you can't deny. I can't deny that his arm power is special. I can't deny that, he moves in the pocket pretty well, and he moves pretty well. He's a solid athlete, right? But his decision-making is some of the worst that I think I've ever seen evaluating a quarterback of this pedigree. The throws that he's trying to make are just to guys who are not open, and on the next level, these are going to be interceptions. You are not going to get away with these throws on the next level. I also think that his pocket awareness is non-existent. He will literally just step towards pressure. Literally, he will step towards pressure. And I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't see it. And yeah, no, it was really frustrating. And I mean, there's throws that he makes that most prospects can't, and he throws his receivers open just with the length of the field, and he shows flashes of touch. Some things do pop off, but I mean, his inability to sense pressure is just horrible. And his timing is not great. He sees some throws so freaking late, and he's like such a play action merchant as well in his schemes. Like literally throughout all of his years, he benefits from play actions, making cornerbacks or safeties freeze for a split second, and then he just cannons it down the length of the entire field, which, like I said, is something that is to behold. His arm power, I have rated at a 9.7. I think it's spectacular, but oh my god, he just feels like he has so much work to do. And if he was somebody who got in a lot sooner than later, he would throw a lot of interceptions and he'd have some serious growing pains, and is just somebody that, I would not want to play for like 2 years. But he's probably going to get in sooner than he should, and that might throw a wrench in literally everything. And I'm worried about where his career is going to go if he doesn't properly adjust his mentality when throwing the football, and if he doesn't learn to read a defense a little bit better. He's a 3-star. Like, there's no other way to put it. He's a 3-star actual level talent. And yeah, you can hate me, you can hate Coach V, but yeah, no. DJ Lagway was the bar for watching these other guys.
Well, you know who Dylan Raiola's head coach is going to be, right?
Oh,
it's going to be old Matt Rule. Who Matt Rule feels like he got a steal, but I feel like Matt Rule is going to make a mistake and play Dylan Raiola his freshman year, and he's going to be trash, and it's not going to be good. If he plays him his freshman year, that says more about the Nebraska quarterback class than anything.
Yes.
And it also means they couldn't recruit in the transfer portal. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said start Greg Garza, bro.
Yes.
At least he doesn't throw it into freaking triple coverage. But
yes. Either way, DJ Lagway, he's the bar here. And I think that's nobody in Colorado is on DJ Lagway's level, just to be clear there. And to be fair, nobody in the country is on DJ Lagway's level. Pretty sure he won Max Preps Player of the Year in Texas and was on that all Max Preps team too. So just throwing that out there. But Kodey, do you want to go ahead and get us started? Let's talk about some Colorado talent here, because we start out with a bang.
The controversy only continues here with quarterbacks. But anyways, our number 5 class of 2024 quarterback in the state of Colorado is the best athlete in the state, Blake Barnett, here out of Erie, Colorado. The Kansas State commit, coming in at 6'2", 215 pounds. Definitely has one of the best frames here. And, is, like I said, the best athlete in Colorado. His scramble abilities at a 9.2. I feel like the things that he's able to do on both sides of the ball, mind you, and especially at that safety spot where he already made a top 5 list. Go ahead and listen to that to see where he landed. But nobody has really had that two-way impact that Blake has had, especially at the positions that he did have it at this quarterback spot where, his athletic ability has never been questioned. I feel like his scramble ability has basically been a 9 for like 3 years since we really started tuning into him. Well, we did a film breakdown on him as a freshman and said what he needed to work on. And, he's one of the few cases of a player that we've watched all the way through. And he's somebody who, and I can't stop yamming this story until I get an interview with him. But, he's somebody who I literally coached against in his first ever varsity start. And he's somebody who I got to watch his last varsity football game here in Colorado. And what a storybook closing for him to win state. And there are a few things that he did really well to help them win state. I'm a huge fan of his arm power. I like the velocity that he shows, especially on throws near the boundary, on like comebacks and improvised throws and stuff like that. I have it graded at an 8.9. I also think that his throw on the run ability is the best in the state, in my opinion. I have it rated at an 8.9 as well. And, I think that he just has that X factor to pull like magic out of a hat here and just make something out of nothing. I also think that he senses pressure pretty well. He bails the pocket a little bit soon, and he doesn't slide or step up as much as I would like him to. So his pocket awareness is at an 8.8, but his movement itself is at an 8. It's one of his lower grades. So I think that that's something to kind of keep in mind. And, once again, his throw on the run and scramble ability are so high because if you're a defender and you have to defend a receiver for more than 5 seconds, which is something that Barnett can do, and exploit and get downfield and make teams pay, that's special. It really is special here. And yeah, those are some of the things that I think he did really, really well here. Now, in other categories, his arm accuracy, he's not as... I actually have him rated as the second least accurate on this top 5 list with an 8.3. I think that he can get the ball into some nice pockets sometimes, but I feel like his lack of touch kind of hurts him in this accuracy spot. And then, his decision-making skills, I have it at 8.1. I think that he did a good job of going through reads in like the state championship game and that he's taken some steps forward, but he is also, subject to one read and bail and then just playing kind of backyard football, which, obviously worked en route to a state championship, so it could be a lot worse. And then the things that I really have in pink here are his timing and his overall mechanics. I think that his footwork is very erratic. I think that his throwing motion is also erratic just because of the way that he plays. And some of the throws that he is making, they don't really look good or sustainable, honestly. And I feel like he loses accuracy and he loses arm power by not having a consistent throwing motion all the time. And then his timing on throws is not great. He sees things, or he throws things a little bit late, and he sees them a little bit late, which is why his decision making isn't a little bit higher here. And those are my biggest qualms with him. And also his release kind of gives me like shot put vibes sometimes, which is not how I want that to look. But you combine all of that, and for me personally, you still end up with an 84.5, which would have him graded as my second highest rated quarterback in the state of Colorado. Coach V, we have probably our biggest disagreement, maybe even ever, on a prospect as far as overall points go. So take us down your thought process here. Some things that you like, and then go ahead and mix in some things that you want to see improve.
Yeah, I'm just going to be straight up honest. He was not even a top 5 quarterback for me. I actually have 4 or 5 other quarterbacks that I rated ahead for me. Overall grade, 77.3. I'm not going to start off too tough there. I will acknowledge, though, what's obvious. I mean, 9.2 scramble ability, no one's going to catch him. That's why he was able to dominate and break Christian McCaffrey's record. No one's going to catch him. 8.7 arm power. I think not the best arm power in this top 5. I think he's the second here, which is good. That's a lot of upside. He can fit it into some tough spots, and he can throw it downfield off platform because of that arm power. But yeah. And then some other stuff, mechanics of fluidity. I thought it was going to be worse, honestly, but actually it wasn't too bad. 8.6. I think it's more inconsistencies than anything, but just after watching him, and I have watched him live a couple times here, against Dakota Ridge, against Broomfield this year, and then, Broomfield last year as well, which was really bad, and then regular season, that is, not playoffs. And then I watched the full state championship game from this year. So just putting all that into perspective, as well as all his clips and, seeing him in 7-on-7 and stuff like that, as well. So there you go there. 8.6 throw on the run ability. I mean, he could throw it on the run. He's obviously able to run, so that kind of frees up a lot of things, gets the defense out of position naturally as, they're panicking as he already gets the edge, and so they're not looking at the receiver, so gets a lot of wide open looks throwing it there. Plus the arm power helps too. You could probably sling it a good 40, 50 yards downfield off his back foot, which is solid there. Frame slash size here, 8.5. He's a bigger dude, 6'2", 215. And, he's a freak athlete for being able to run at his speed there. But, that's the things that really makes Blake Barnett a good quarterback, a solid quarterback. A good quarterback for the high school level, I should say there. Winning a state championship, being one of those top guys, being an MVP guy, someone who's always scoring a lot. Just an athlete that's just better than everyone else. Now, getting into the lower grades here, gave him an 8 for timing on throws. I think some of that is because he's just not seeing players get open, or he's not anticipating them getting open. So it's I don't know. It's hard to evaluate timing on throws when you're just not seeing it, honestly. So there's that. I think when he does see it, he is able to get there relatively on time. So there you go. But like I said, when he does see it, decision making gave him a 7.4. And mind you, grades 7 to 8, that's above average to good, right? So 7.4, above average to good. I think he's definitely somebody that, played within his system, which is obviously geared towards him. Nothing crazy down the field outside of, deep shots, but definitely nothing over the middle like that. Not too many RPO decisions either, I feel. And it's pretty basic. It's either run... it's either throw it deep, check it down, or run. And that is basically the same 3 decisions and progressions I feel like he's went through from junior year to the state championship. State championship was no different for me. I mean, the first throw over the middle, over 10 yards, was in the third quarter, and I think that was the only throw over the middle he made that was over 10 yards there. That wasn't like a slant, which, a receiver took the next 10 or 15 yards after, so there's that, So just a lot. It's really, it's easy to be a good decision maker in a simple offense, so I took that in mind there. There are just a lot of things that they just had to simplify for Blake here, which either he wasn't getting, he wasn't getting, because I saw them try to do more complicated things against Broomfield last year in the regular season, and he just wasn't seeing it. So they very much simplified it, and that's why he's at that grade. And honestly, when you have a player play for as long as he has, those things are really easy to see. Oh, they had to simplify the offense? That is not good. So there's that as well. And then the lowest grade I gave him was pocket movement. I gave him a 3. I have never seen him step up into a pocket and throw a football. I just haven't. He's always rolling out. The awareness is there. Like, he's sensing the pressure, but he's just not. I mean, like, I don't. There are just some throws you could make where you just literally sidestep or slide or do whatever and then deliver it downfield. But also on top of that, like I said, I just don't think he sees the field really well deep and can throw in time. So it's like hard for him to know, like, hey, I need to move up in this pocket because I could deliver it here in time, when he just doesn't see it until it's like wide open. And there's some really bad teams that he's been able to do that against, but even then, like, it's just very far and in between. So altogether, gave him an overall grade of a 77.3. I know personally I'm going to get a lot of slack. Fuck it, whatever, it's fine. But I just don't see him as a quarterback, like as a very well-polished quarterback on the next level. I think there's a lot of great athleticism things that you look at and you love, and you love that he was also able to win a state championship and play within himself and know, like, hey, this is my game, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a Power 5 guy. So there you go there. Kodey, what do you think about my evaluation? I was really tough, but I don't know. Every time I went to watch him play, it just kind of felt like the same thing. So there you go.
Well, obviously, we're a bit different here. I also feel like your mind has been made up for quite some time. So, and I feel like once you decided, it was already decided. I do think that the pocket movement at a 3 is a little harsh because I have seen him step up in the pocket. I don't think that he slides very well, if at all sliding, but I feel like he steps up and he's delivered some strikes as well. So, I think that one's a bit harsh, but I completely see everything else. I think that his decision-making definitely needs some work, and they did kind of like hold his hand quite a bit there. And then his timing is just not great. You're right. It is kind of hard to evaluate when he is just improvising so much, but I think that it could use some work. And his mechanics, they have come, a little bit of a ways here, but I still think that it just looks kind of weird whenever he's throwing a football. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you average it out, you're 77.3, my 84.5, and that lands him at an 80.9, narrowly beating the first guy off this list by 0.6, and, kind of puts him more amongst, like, the batch here of other quarterbacks, and, that's kind of where his average falls. But I think that his upside looks really, really good at K-State. I will say that, it'll be interesting to see what and how they use him, especially because, one thing that I was kind of curious of when looking at Barnett's commitment is seeing who they have at quarterback. And so, I don't know if this includes a transfer portal here, but they have 2 freshman quarterbacks as of right now on their roster in Avery Johnson. He is from Kansas here. He's a 6'2", 190-pound 4-star, or he was a 4-star prospect, I should say. And then Jacob Newth out of San Diego here, who's going to be heading into his sophomore season as well, who was graded as a 3-star. So, there's going to be some competition there, but honestly, this quarterback room is not as deep as a lot of quarterback rooms are. And so with that in mind, it's just, I think that he honestly does have a chance to compete at quarterback for the simple fact that there's just really not that many. I mean, you look at some of his other offers here, like a Washington that has 7 quarterbacks on the roster. Granted, they're going to graduate 2 of them, but, to still have a handful there. An Oregon State that has, 4 on the roster even after they graduate 1. Kansas that's going to have 4. I mean, he just really does have a chance to compete a little bit sooner than later here for that quarterback spot, which I think opens up plenty of opportunity for him. I don't know what their safety room looks like, which I think is something to consider here. It doesn't look like they really they did sign a safety out of Mississippi who's a 3-star guy. So I don't really think that they actually signed 2 safeties. So I don't think they're looking at signing him or playing him at safety. I think that they're going to try and roll with him at quarterback. And I think that there's going to be some growing pains, but I do think that he kind of matches what K-State looks for in a quarterback as far as, being athletic, being a bit on the stronger side. He's somebody who has lowered his shoulder and he's a bit more physical of a prospect. And, I think that fit could go a really, really long way. But I think as far as if we're talking about someone who broke Christian McCaffrey's touchdown record, right, which puts him in a legendary conversation for Colorado football, but we know where Christian McCaffrey's career is now. I don't think I see that for Barnett at quarterback, to be completely honest. I don't see NFL as a quarterback. At a different position, like a safety, I see it a lot more. But as a quarterback, I don't really see him as an NFL guy, which I know is crazy because we're talking high school prospects, but we've already thrown around the NFL tag here with DJ and Dylan. That's what we talk about here at this caliber of player, or, who should be this caliber of player, and I just don't think he is that.
I mean, yeah, you can't be an NFL quarterback if I don't think you're a college one yet. And I mean, here's the thing with Blake. If he develops, right, and if he plays and he does all that stuff, it's going to be because of the college coaching staff that gets him up to speed, So that's all I'm putting out there. I'm still rooting for him. Think he's a great athlete. I think, and we've said this over and over again with our top 5 senior series list, there's going to be so many players who are going to be recruited based on a couple different skills or things, athletic things that they have going for them, right? Like pass rushers. If you're a good speed rusher and you're like 6'4", 230, yeah, you'll get a couple D1s, Or, hey, if you're a corner and you run like a 4.3 and you're 6 foot, yeah, you'll get a couple D1s. Doesn't matter if you're, if you know zone well or if you're a great man guy. Not really, but you'll get a couple D1s. If you're a running back, you run a 4.3, you're 6'2", 230, yeah, you'll get some D1s. And so, you see that all the time. Doesn't mean it's not because that they're the most well-rounded player that they're always getting those offers. I think that's something that should be cleared up, and that should be very clear there. But I would say as far as upside goes, he has the most upside out of anybody on this list. And, wishing him the best, and we'll just have to see. That K-State quarterback room is pretty weak, but even then, I don't know, is just kind of where I'm at. I just think at this point, I mean, yeah, my mind has been kind of made up, but also there's been plenty of players that have made plays that have changed my mind. So it's not like I'm not just, I've been just set for 2 years and whatnot. Like I've looked at his game and I've went to multiple games just to be sure, and I am sure. So that's just kind of where I'm at. So we'll see. But Kodey, if you don't have anything more to add on, you mind if I talk about this number 4 guy here?
Please do.
So the number 4 class of 2024 quarterback here in Colorado is Ralston Valley's Logan Madden, the 6'2", 195-pound quarterback who just committed, by the way, to Washburn, which we'll talk about later. But let me talk about some of his top grades here. Gave him an 8.6 in both. Let me make sure I get this right here. In both timing on throws and overall mechanics fluidity there. I think those go hand in hand. Also gave him an 8.5 in arm accuracy. And then I might as well say the other grades here. 8.4s in arm power, decision-making skills, pocket awareness, and then an 8.3 in size. Look, with Logan Madden, he was a huge part of this Ralston Valley offense that changed to what they were traditionally as a wing T team. They got a new coach in Yanacito who changed everything for the better, put Logan Madden in that offense, gave him, last year wasn't bad as a junior, a lot of, I think, flashes for sure. But this year, as a senior, he took over, and I'm pretty sure, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure he won MVP. He was definitely a finalist. I'm pretty sure it was close to there. but he was definitely a finalist, and it's for a good reason. I mean, he kept this offense and this Ralston Valley team in a lot of games just by being poised and playing good football as a quarterback in this spread system here. Let me talk about some of those things, though. I think the biggest things that I really like about his game is that he's an accurate thrower and he throws on time. And he does this on all three levels, short, medium, deep. The number of throws he's able to make is just, it's pretty good. It's insane. And, he doesn't have, I would say, an elite arm. It's not like I don't know. It's not like DJ Lagway or anything like that. It's not a cannon or anything, but it's definitely serviceable. It's good enough, and he is very self-aware of that, and that allows him to throw with really good touch and timing. I think that touch and timing goes together. Just the number of balls he's able to throw into some tight windows and the number of completions he's able to make despite, getting some pressure and whatnot. It's incredible. I think he throws really well under pressure as well, which is a big deal for me. Just for him to be able to deliver good throws and strikes over and over and over again, that's huge. And this was somebody that I got to watch play against Cherry Creek 2 times, one in person, one over stream. Got to watch that full playoff game over stream. Got to watch him play against Pine Creek and Mountain Vista as well at the beginning of the season. And he looks good. He just does a good job of controlling the game and delivering on a consistent basis. And I do want to talk about that decision-making skills. I think he could still have a ways to go. I think there are some decisions, not a lot, but a handful of decisions he make through games where it's like, it's a little safe, right? It's a little safe. You could have waited maybe a little bit more and something deeper would get open, but it would take a little bit longer for it to develop. I think he does kind of veer towards playing it safe, which is not a bad thing at all, but obviously it's just a tad off from being as efficient as he could be. But with that being said, as far as decision making, he's never going to take a team out of the game, right? He's always going to raise that floor, and he's always going to give the team the best chance to go and win a game, because of how efficient he is for the most part and how little mistakes he makes when he's out there playing and doing his thing. And so absolutely love Logan Madden for that. Don't want to take up too much time here, but Kodey, what do you think about Logan Madden here and, what he's done for Ralston Valley these last 2 years as they've transformed their culture and system?
Logan Madden has been critical to that, and he's somebody who, this position is asked a lot of in the Yanacito offense, and Madden rose to the occasion. He really did. I think that his arms and his reads were the keys to success for them the past 2 years, combined with, some solid athleticism and looking like a good example of modern quarterbacking in Colorado. I think that, I wouldn't say I'm not blown away by his throw power all the time, but when given a clean pocket, he can really put some velocity on his throws here. I think that his release is quick and doesn't really have any wasted movements leading to, some of those faster throws. So his mechanics / fluidity here is actually my highest grade for him at an 8.6, same as you here. And I also think that he does show some nice touch sometimes. I do think that at other times he could put a little too much touch on some of his deeper balls, which I think comes back to more of an arm power thing, which is at an 8.5. It's still strong. It's the third strongest on this list, but it's not otherworldly, I would say. I think that he also does a good job of surveying the field, and he steps up in the pocket, a bit more comfortable than most of the quarterbacks in this class. Now, I say that, and, at the same time, it's like, I don't know. The pocket movement in this class was leaving quite a bit to be desired here, so it's still only at an 8 and is still an area of improvement at the same time. But I think that he senses pressure pretty all right, and he knows when he can or should step up or hang back and deliver a strike. I wish that he moved defenses with his eyes a little bit more, talking about just some areas of improvement. But he accomplishes similar results with his shoulders as well, just turning those shoulders, little dips and stuff for his pump fakes. And yeah, so I'd say that his best traits are his power, accuracy, and overall mechanics. His accuracy I have graded at an 8.5. I think that he can put throws right on the money, and his ball placement is next level. I also think that he throws on the run pretty well. He's at an 8.4 for me throwing on the run. I think that he does a good job of getting his shoulders squared to where he is throwing it and getting the ball where it needs to go. And his decision making, like I said, at an 8.3, I think that he does a good job of knowing where to go to. It could have been a little bit higher, but in that Mountain Vista game, which was the first game of the year, to be fair, there were some throws where I was just like, what are you doing? But I think as the year went on, he definitely improved quite a bit. And, unless he was doing too much because his team really needed a play, his decision-making was pretty sound for the most part. Now, things that I think can improve, and something that I just see a little bit differently here, is I think that sometimes his release on throws is a little too late. And so I think that gives the defenders a little bit more time to act on the ball, and some of his receivers were making some catches that were way more contested than they had to be. So I gave his timing an 8. And then his scramble ability, I have at a 7.9. I think that he can move just fine, but he doesn't have that next level speed that, a Barnett or a DJ have or anything like that. He's somebody who's not as mobile, but, as far as buying time and stuff like that and then throwing on the run, I think that he does a solid job of all of those things. So my final grade for Logan here was an 82.5. You average that out with Simon at an 80.1. That gives us an 81.3. Coach V, what else do you have to add on here before talking his future?
Yeah, not like a crazy amount here, but my lowest grades, same with scramble ability. I just gave him a 7. He's mobile. He's not I don't know, there's some quarterbacks who just can't move at all. But he could definitely move a little bit, but it's just to buy time for the most part. And then pocket movement, I gave him a 6. I know it's a spread, so there's not a lot of blockers out there, but I definitely would have liked to see him operate a little bit more from the pocket instead of just bailing so quickly, and just a work out of there and, deliver a lot of stuff out of the pocket there. So that's probably my only real, I guess, gripe there. I just didn't really see him move around in the pocket. So it's also hard to see, all right, well, does he slide and step up super well? Most of the time he gets the ball out pretty quick. In this offense, you do get the ball out pretty quick with how many receivers you have. So it is hard to evaluate there. But overall grade, like you said, Kodey, 80.1. And, he's going to Washburn here. He's committed there. Kodey, here, remind me, I'm not sure if it's a D1 or a D2. I'm not quite sure. But my thing with Logan Madden is that, he's a good enough quarterback where he's played in a system that's a next level system. It's not archaic by any means. And so there's going to be a lot of, schemes and stuff that he's going to be able to pick up pretty quickly, which is going to help him out. Because with Logan, he's not a crazy, super gifted athlete like a Blake Barnett. I think he's pretty much not the exact opposite, but more opposite as in style wise. He's opposite where, he's a lot more polished. He's going to get the ball out. He's going to throw accurate throws on all 3 levels. He's going to understand, hey, this is what I need to do to move the stakes here. I don't need a big play or a home run yet, even though he can make that play, but I need to control this offense and be a really good game manager here and, help control the pace of this game and put our team in a good position to go win, consistently, right? And so I think Logan Madden does a lot of those things, although, it could be argued that it's a little bit more on the safe side, more so than less, but I think with where he's at, he's definitely somebody who is always going to be able to compete hard, once he gets a system. But, sorry. Kodey, were you able to find whether it was a D1 or not? And also, what do you think about his outlook here moving forward?
Yeah, so I actually looked this up before the show because I wasn't sure. And Washburn is a D2. They play in the same conference as Nebraska Kearney. And I want to say it was Pittsburgh State, oddly enough. And so, I think that I agree with everything you have to say. I think that, and I also think that the game manager title shouldn't come with such a stigma, basically, because I love quarterbacks that don't throw interceptions and they throw it to the right guy and they're very polished and clean. That is a winning formula. If your quarterback could just not make mistakes, you will win football games. And so Logan Madden can do that. He also has that, upside as well of making those big plays. And this is getting into a way future kind of, look here. But he's somebody who I think, not on the NFL level, but somebody who I think could potentially be a future like Canadian Football League player or, play overseas or something like that and be, a professional football player with the ability to not make a ton of mistakes and with his overall mechanics and fluidity. I mean, Simon, I don't know if you've seen this, but I feel like I've seen a lot more like circulation of college quarterbacks going to play in like Japan and stuff like that. And that's a future that I can see for Logan Madden just because of how smart he is and how polished he is at the quarterback position. I feel like he's a little bit more rare to find. I just think that, where the NFL is trending and where, colleges are trending and stuff like that, physically, he's not like that crazy wow guy. And he just does a lot of things very solid, but nothing that's super flashy to push him over the top into, kind of those different paths. But I think that, what he does well is more than what a lot of schools or, professional teams could really hope to ask for. Is that a weird assessment to have? Or do you kind of see my angle here?
Kodey really said, get ready to learn Chinese, buddy.
Whoa!
No, that's not what
Logan,
he's saying at all. That's
like
not what he's saying at all. But no, I get what you're saying. I mean, look, here's the thing. As far as game manager goes, I agree. I mean, it shouldn't be such a negative connotation because I kind of feel like game managers could still throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and win you a game. That's very much within game manager range. And, football, you got 11 guys on the field anyways, right? So you're going to have a bunch of guys that you can feed and contribute and be that guy, but you need a quarterback to still get them the ball. May not be the hero all the time, but could still get them the ball. And, I mean, here's the thing I really like about Logan Madden as well, which is not quite something that you could evaluate, I guess. Not really, but it's just really the intangibles. I mean, he is so cool under pressure. Like I said, he has these high ratings, and partially because he could deliver these throws when he's getting hit or when he's, getting bear down on or whatever. Now, it didn't happen a whole ton over at Ralston Valley, but there are definitely some throws where I was like, man, that's just a great throw on time, getting hit. There's a lot of quarterbacks that can't make that. They physically can't make that throw, and just having those nerves of steel as well. Watching him play against Cherry Creek, obviously that was a game they lost, but they still scored at the end. Like the last offensive drive, I'm pretty sure, or last full offensive drive was the score, and then Cherry Creek scored at the end. He still proved that he could score in crunch time, and he can make those big plays and be that guy. He doesn't have to be a crazy athlete to do that. And so, yeah, I think he is somebody that has pro football potential. I don't know about NFL. I just don't, that's projecting really far in the future. But I think just in general, as far as pro football goes, he could do it because of how smart he is, how accurate he throws footballs, and how great timing he has. And, he obviously has the athletic ability to do it. I've been able to watch a couple different D2 quarterbacks play and do their thing. One in John Matoka from Colorado School of Mines, who's been excellent, and I think he's going to get his NFL shot. And the other one was Tyson Bagent, who got his start with the Chicago Bears this year. And, Tyson, there's a lot of things that he did that I feel like was very Logan Madden-esque. Like, they're pretty much the same build here. Tyson might be maybe a little bit more athletic, but not that much more athletic. And so I could see the pathway for Logan Madden, And I really love his game. I know he's like our number 4 guy here, but I really love his game. So there you go there. That's Logan Madden. Don't have too much more to say. Jeez, this episode is going to be a long one. I already know, but that's okay. Kodey, do you have anything more to add on before you move on to the number 3 guy?
not really. I do think that, his ceiling is higher than D2, to be fair. I just wanted to throw that in there. And, I can't wait to see him probably tear it up and dominate like we've seen other Ralston Valley athletes do on the D2 level who maybe got a little overlooked.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. He's definitely D1. That's why he's going to be such a good D2 player. He's definitely somebody who could have went D1. Yeah, that's fair to say and add on there. But, yeah, let's move this thing, keep this thing going here and move on here and talk about our number 3 quarterback here in the class of 2024. And this might come as a surprise, but our number 3 quarterback is Widefield's Paul Mitchell, the 6'3", 210-pound quarterback. Let's talk about him. I already know there's someone out there that already tuned out, but I don't care. Let's go ahead and talk to the real ones here. So, gave him an 8.7 here in pocket awareness, 8.6 in frame/size, good frame at 6'3", 210, and then 8.6 in arm power. I'll also just talk about the other grades. 8.5 in pocket movement, 8.5 in timing on throws, 8.4 in accuracy, and 8.2 in decision making. Those were his higher grades there. Look, Paul Mitchell, this was a kid that I was able to find a lot of offseason film back before his junior year, and I had a feeling that he'd be good. I liked what I saw when he was not in pads and he was just throwing and whatnot. It looked like he had a good arm. He was throwing in time, a very accurate thrower as well. I was definitely concerned, though, about him going to Widefield, who hasn't, been historically like a great program, at least in recent years, before Paul Mitchell. Like, they'd win like 4 or 5 games at most. And that was considered a pretty good season. And then I saw this young quarterback going into that system, and I was like, he could either really change things or he could put up great numbers and still get crushed, right? It's either one or the other, but I was very confident in his ability to play good football, and it showed these last 2 years. I'm pretty sure they've won their league both times. Or no, sorry, Centaurus won last year, but they're, close second last season, first to his junior year, near the top of that I-25 league, which is a considerably weaker league by a lot of people's standards, but still playing quarterback at a high level doesn't really change too much, though. And he did that. He played quarterback at a high level despite never having a 1,000-yard receiver. And I don't think he's ever even had a receiver hit 800 yards. He spread the ball out pretty well over there. And so with his game, he has a good arm, goes with accuracy, goes with good timing. Something I really like is how he maneuvers in the pocket. It's not like the weakest line, at least comparatively when looking at a lot of league play stuff and other teams they played out of league as well. It's about 50-50. Sometimes they'll allow a lot of pressure and sometimes it's a clean pocket. So I think, in my opinion, it's like the perfect situation to really see all right, is he going to climb this pocket? Is he going to, be efficient here? And I think for the most part he does. Very efficient movements in the pocket, and he delivers really good strikes. One of my favorite plays on his reel and on his film is where, the entire pocket around him collapses and it's more going towards the outside. A lot of guys coming off that edge, and he just steps up beautifully, has the awareness to know, hey, the line of scrimmage is right here. So he steps up pretty much right up to the line of scrimmage and delivers a beautiful pass down the field for a big time touchdown. And that's something you love to see. First off, having the patience to let the play develop, not get rid of it too quick, and then step up, deliver a great throw downfield and finish that play. That was as ideal a play as you could want to see out of a high school quarterback. Just a very efficient, calm, cool under pressure, and just delivering it, right? And so Paul Mitchell, he's definitely somebody that I've really loved watching these last couple years. I got to watch him in a very exciting rare shootout against Air Academy in his junior year, and that was a game where he played very within himself. He obviously made some big plays and whatnot throughout the game, but that was a game where they quickly found out, hey, we could run the ball, and so they ran the ball, and Paul did his job. He also ran the ball really well against them too, while making some really good throws that kept the defense for Air Academy pretty honest there, and gave Widefield a very good advantage. And so there you go there. Like I said, very familiar with Paul Mitchell's game. But Kodey, I want to ask what you think about my evaluation and what you think about Paul Mitchell here.
Yeah, so with Paul here, at first I was a little skeptical because of the fact that, it is wide field and whatnot. But I will admit that that uneasiness kind of went away pretty quickly. I do recall, and Simon, we kind of talked about this before the recording a little bit, but over the summer last year, we got to see this big 7v7 invite that was hosted at Mullen High School. Shout out the guys at TFG for getting us the invite and the passes to go watch all that. And actually, Paul Mitchell was the quarterback for a 719 squad that did win a few games in that pool play and played pretty well. And Paul looked pretty good. He always found the open guy. I felt like he looked very sound and comfortable playing, and he looked really clean and polished, honestly. And I think that that's what jumped off on his film here is just like, wow, this guy looks like a next level starting quarterback, honestly. And so when looking at, some of the things that he did well, I think that he just goes through reads pretty well. I had his decision making at an 8.1. You had it at an 8.2. Both pretty solid here. I liked his arm power. I liked the velocity on throws that he had over the middle. And I also think that as far as awareness goes in the pocket, I actually feel like he had like the best pocket awareness in this class. I feel like he felt pressure, and maybe it's because he was constantly exposed to just pressure all the time more than these other guys. But I feel like he sensed pressure pretty well, and he did a good job at getting the ball out when he needed to, I also think that his ball placement's pretty good. I had his arm accuracy at an 8.2 here. And yeah, I just think that between all of that and then his mechanics, honestly, I actually was a pretty big fan of his mechanics. I think that his windup is pretty quick. I think that his delivery is pretty fast. I think that his drop back is pretty clean. Now, I think that you lose some of that when he gets into other aspects of his game, but I just think from a straight line quarterback standpoint, he's very solid. Look, arm power 8.4, 8.2 accuracy, 8.2 timing. The timing could use a little bit of improvement, but I'm being a little nitpicky on that. Overall mechanics 8.4, decision making 8.1, and then his pocket awareness at an 8.8, along with that 6'3", 210-pound frame. That's pretty close to being ready to go on the next level, honestly. And so you got to be happy with all of those. I'd say that my big qualms, and Simon, I think that we're in the same boat here, is, he's a pretty good athlete with a solid frame. I kind of like the fact that he's able to kind of lower his shoulder when he scrambles a little bit, but his scrambling and throw on the run are definitely his worst aspects here at a 7.6 and a 7.8 respectively. And then his pocket movement I have at a 7.9. I think that he maneuvers it pretty well because of his awareness, but I think that his footwork and the way that he slides and stuff like that, maybe not the best. So all of that added up, that's an 82.1. You were at an 81. That puts him at an 81.55 here. And someone who, honestly, at his frame and with all the sports that he plays, he kind of has a lot of options. But, being football guys, I feel like we obviously want to see him play football on the next level. Is that a mistake?
I mean, yeah, I'd love to see him play football. First off, I will agree with a lot of what you had to say there. Gave him a 7 for scramble ability and a 7 for throw on the run. Throwing on the run, it's not like he's going to roll out and then just throw a 50-yard bomb. You see a lot of short and medium stuff, which is fine, so that's kind of why it's a little bit lower. And then as far as scramble ability goes, he has great acceleration. I will say that. The first 10 yards of every Paul Mitchell scramble looks like he's about to take it to the house. And then he gets caught. He gets caught from behind or something happens there. And so, still though, I think that's worth noting because there's not going to be many times on the next level where you're just going to have a wide open space. A lot of the time, yeah, it's going to be you scanning the pocket. It's going to be some sort of man coverage, and then there's going to be a wide open opening right up the middle for a couple yards here. And so I like that he can go and get, a good 10 or 15 yards. Go get a first down, right? Which is all you need. He's not going to go score like a crazy 80-yard, 100-yard rushing touchdown or something that Blake Barnett, who definitely can do that, can or will do, but, in the red zone, he could run it in a little bit, in short situations. He could definitely be a little bit of a threat there, but nothing too crazy. But still, though, a 7. Like I said, great acceleration. But yeah, I mean, he's a multi-sport athlete over at Widefield, like a lot of their athletes are. And I do hope he gets an opportunity to go play football on the next level. Kodey, were you able to find any offers? I feel like I haven't heard about anything crazy here.
I did not find any offers.
Yeah. He's a sleeper.
He seems pretty invested into baseball, I will say.
Yes. Oh, baseball.
Which I know is
my favorite sport.
Arch nemesis. But I mean, I was looking at his averages, and he's got a pretty mean swing, and he gets contact with the ball a lot. So we might lose him to the baseball system here. But I mean, either way, he's going to have to go to the next level. And there's schools like at NAIA that could look at offering him a little bit of both and get him a nice little package there. And I think that would be a sweet deal on the school's part, and I think it'd be a sweet deal for Paul. As far as, if he doesn't want to make a stamp your foot in the ground decision, especially with the competitiveness of, baseball recruiting and of football recruiting there, if you can find a sweet middle, I feel like if I had to guess an outcome, that's probably the one that I would guess, if that makes sense. Now, obviously, I think that he has the potential to be a higher graded prospect than that if he were to choose to specialize in one or the other, but maybe as a financial deal maker here, I think that would be an awesome opportunity for him and, a good way to not have to pay for school.
Can't believe Kodey Stauffer is now Paul Mitchell's financial advisor / agent. That's not true. Just, making sure that's clear. But look, I like the kid. He's brought a lot of great memories to that Widefield community, and just, he's a great quarterback. I really enjoyed watching him these last couple years. I would love to watch him continue to play quarterback. But, I think long-term wise, hey, man, go get your school paid for. Get all of it paid for. You don't have to settle for any half scholarships, If I were him, I would hopefully look for some situations where, he just gets his school paid for, whether it's going all in baseball or, having a little bit of a, doing half and half, because I think D2s you could also be offered 2 half rides, right? And that'll equate a full ride, not just NAIA, but, would love to see that. I think there's more, opportunities on the NAIA level, by the way, to do that. But, still, you could go D2 and do that as well. And, I'm rooting for him. I think he's a great athlete, one of the best that the Springs has seen ever. And I'm glad he was able to make this list so that everyone could appreciate how good of an athlete and how good of a quarterback he was for Widefield, who, has been overlooked. So, there you go there. But yeah, Paul Mitchell, our number 3 quarterback here in the class of 2024. Love his game. Super underrated. And by the way, one of the 7-on-7 teams he did beat was Team Full Gorilla. Wasn't that right, Kodey? I don't think you actually said who he beat. You just said he beat a couple teams there.
Yeah, I felt some kind of way about saying that we got invited there and then mentioning that they lost. But I mean,
that's part of the game, though.
It's all love.
Yeah, it's part of the game.
But yeah, Paul Mitchell looked good, and I think that his opportunities on the next level are going to be exciting to keep track of.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Now, this next guy, our number 2 class of 2024 quarterback out of Colorado, is committed on the D2 level here. And that is Tyler Harms out of Durango High School. Durango here showing out on our top 5 lists year in and year out. This is actually our second quarterback here. And Durango also home to one of our highest, I think our highest graded prospect in PMC history as well. But I digress a little bit there. Let's talk about Tyler's game here and what makes him so special at 6'3", 208. Let's call it 210 pounds. He's filled that out. He's earned it. He has the same score there as Paul Mitchell at an 8.7 for me. And then, his timing is so good. I have his timing at an 8.9. I think that he just puts the ball in the right place at the right time. And downfield is that's where he makes his money. That's where he makes his money, is timing that downfield. He always perfectly times it past one defender before the next. And I mean, that's over the middle of the field. That's on the sidelines. That's on the boundaries. All of those are fantastic. I think that the accuracy is also there. I have his accuracy at an 8.4. And, I think that some of the route concepts look a little like they're not going in the right spot. But his accuracy and timing is so good that even if two guys are standing in the exact same place, which happens more than once, which is a little concerning from a wide receiver standpoint, but he gets it to the guy that he is intending to throw it to, and you can't do that unless you're really accurate and you have the timing down. I also think that his touch is next level and is one of the better displays in this class with, that timing and accuracy both being superb. I think that his arm power is pretty solid. I have it at 8.2. I don't think that his velocity over the middle is always there, but I think that his ability to stretch the field is really solid. I love his decision-making skills. I actually think I have him graded as the best decision-maker in this class, at least in the top 5, at an 8.4. I think that you can obviously see him go through his reads. He shows patience with his routes that are being developed, and he just shows great field vision, honestly, when reading the field, looking for that next, target or, who he's going to throw to. I think that also his ability to, run a multiple offense that he has ran. Last year they were a lot more run heavy, and, I think that is something to consider. Tyler Harms, he's been getting snaps at quarterback for quite some time here, honestly, and he's ran a handful of different offenses, and he's ran them all really well, I would say. And in addition to that, I think that, he's a fine enough athlete. I think that he moves okay. But when I'm talking about his overall mechanics / fluidity, I have it at 8.1 because his release is great. I love his release, but his flat feet are freaking wild to watch. I mean, I've seen quarterbacks who throw like him before, but I definitely think if his feet were just a little bit more active and he kept himself a little bit more engaged, he could gain a few extra yards of arm power and a little bit more velocity. But I think throwing from a complete standstill, it doesn't look great. And so that's something that is just a little bit concerning there. And I want to just see his feet get a little bit more activated. And I feel like that kind of reflects a little bit in his scramble ability that I have at a 7.8, just because, at his size, he's not afraid to throw down a shoulder, and he does, tiptoe the sideline on some runs, and he shows some good balance, I would say. But, for throw on the run, I mean, it's almost non-existent. I mean, he kind of does it out of, play action looks sometimes, and so that's why it's given a 7.4, and he gets the ball into the right spot, but I just think that he is not quite as connected from top to bottom as far as engaging his entire body when he throws, and I think that suffers the most in his throw on the run ability. And then his pocket movement, I have it at 7.7. It's really hard to move when your feet are completely flat. So, but I think that occasionally he does show that he can step up in the pocket as well, and he has slid a few times, but his mobility is just wild. That it's either run or it is stop and pass. So, and another thing that I wanted to add on actually here before I pass it over to Simon is his decision-making skills. I think that he is doing the most when it comes to pre-snap reads here. And that went a very, very long way in his decision-making being an 8.4, because I think he just knows who's going to be open based off the look that the defense is giving. And if it's not, then he is still willing to go on to that second read. And so I think that he makes the best pre-snap reads out of anyone in this top 5. Coach V, hopefully there's still some things to talk about here for Harms out of Durango.
Oh, yeah. There definitely is. I mean, first off, Gonna have to agree with what you have to say about his pre-snap reads. His decision making, I gave him an 8.5. That's the highest out of anybody who made this top 5 list as well. And, you could tell that he's scanning the field, seeing, all right, here are my matchups. Here's the defense that they're presenting me. This is the different zones in the defense that I'm going to attack, different parts of the field that I'm going to attack, and then he gets after it, He does a pretty good job throwing over the middle. Like I said, the timing goes a long way, I think, with that. I gave him an 8.8. That is the highest out of everyone on this top 5 list as well, just like yours. And like I said, the timing goes a long way with his accuracy on throws over the middle, because I also don't think his arm is anything like crazy. Like, he's not going to rifle it into some really tough spots over the middle. I think as far as arm power goes, he's more of a, it's solid, I think as he continues to get stronger and whatnot, he could probably develop into something pretty good. Not like elite or anything, but pretty good for sure. But I like his arm power still, though. Gave him an 8.6. Tyler Harms, he throws a beautiful deep ball. This might this might age horribly depending on how the NFL playoffs are going at this point. But, I compare his deep throws to Joe Flacco's, just very effortless flick of the wrist, downfield, on the money, pretty much all the time. That's kind of what I see there when I'm looking at Tyler Harms, a very Joe Flacco-esque deep ball, which is absolutely beautiful with a great arc. Love the angle he puts on these throws here, and it's great. And because of that flick of the wrist, I gave him an 8.6, which is a little bit higher than some of these other guys on here. Just a little bit, not crazy, but just a little bit there. And so, love the deep ball he throws. Love the timing he throws with and how he's just able to control a game in a field and get the ball into spots to really dissect the defense. And, he's done a great job at that. I'll just run down some of the other things that I have for him as well. 8.3 arm accuracy, 8.3 overall mechanics and fluidity. This could definitely be improved on. I think he needs a little bit more hip engagement, honestly, and that could go a long way in increasing that arm power as well. I think there are a lot of times he's kind of just turning into it where he could get a little bit more hips into it. So would love to see that. That could unlock a whole another level of throw power. Though on the run ability, gave him an 8. Definitely above average. I mean, there are some times where, he's asked on a rollout to throw it and whatnot. It's part of the play, and it's not going farther than 10, 15 yards. And I think that's solid. I mean, everyone needs that. Everyone needs a quarterback that could throw on the run in that capacity, I think. And he does it pretty consistently, and so that's all you could ask for now. It's not higher because he's not improvising and then just bombing it 50 yards downfield. It's just not really part of his game, It's more so part of that short game than anything. Then pocket awareness, 8.2. And then frame/size, gave him an 8.6, 6'3", 208, pretty much 210. That's a really good spot to be at. I even think he could put on a couple more pounds here and be pretty much at playing weight. And he'll be just fine. He could actually really, if you really wanted to, you could throw him out there, and I think he would be able to hold up pretty fine there. But, I really, really respect the work he's put in from junior year to senior year, working on that frame, because he was a little bit more lanky before. I definitely remember that, but he's put in a lot of work to gain that weight, which is definitely a green flag. Kodey, you mind if I talk about some areas of improvements just real quick here?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so not too many. Pocket movement, gave him a 6. Most of the time the ball is out, by the time the pressure gets there. And I really focused on his senior year film, because obviously the last couple of years he had Joshua Bates, who was our number 1 weight-rated prospect of all time at center. And, he's doing his thing over at Oklahoma now. And so I really wanted to look at how he handled the pocket this year. And it was good. I mean, it was solid. He got the ball out pretty quickly most of the time, which is what I appreciated. But the other times, I mean, he kind of just rolls all the way out right or left before throwing it, setting and then throwing it. And so would love to see him get a little bit more disciplined there. Pocket awareness, I gave him an 8.2. It's a little bit lower just because I can't quite tell if it's him just ignoring a pass rush and delivering the ball, or if it's him being aware of when he needs to deliver the ball and, throw it in, all that timing and stuff like that. I just went safe and gave him an 8.2. That could definitely be higher, though. And then scramble ability, 7.9. Kind of like Paul Mitchell, first couple of yards look really good. He could give you a little bit more, has a little bit of a wiggle there. And I think his top end speed is probably better as well, but not like a threat. He's definitely mobile enough where he's able to break a lot of tackles, and then go get some yards or go extend a play. And that's kind of what you like to see there. Overall, though, my overall grade for him was an 81.2. So only 0.2 away from Paul Mitchell here. But regardless, still my number 2 quarterback altogether, and a really good prospect over there at Durango. Kodey, what do you think about my evaluation? And you could talk outlook too as well if you'd like.
I think that it's poise in the pocket and that he does sense the pressure. I have his pocket awareness at an 8.4. It's still not that much higher, so it's not that deep. But anyways, no, I agree with everything that you say. And yeah, he definitely, it's a good thing that you set your feet when you throw, even when you do break the pocket. But sometimes you're not going to have the time to do that. So little mild concern there. But ultimately, I mean, we agree on what his best asset is, and that's his timing. And it just looks so good and effortless. And yeah, I think that if he can unlock hhis hips, his arm power could seriously skyrocket like a half a point, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is when you think about going from an 8.2 to an 8.7, you know what I mean, for my grades, just because, I mean, I like his arm power, but I feel like with his mechanics as they are right now, it's closer to its ceiling than it probably should be, I guess. But all of that being said, he had a couple of offers to Fort Lewis and Colorado Mesa where he ended up committing. Now, he did get a game day invite to a University of South Dakota game, which I thought was interesting because I do think that he is a D1 quarterback. I mean, between your grade at an 81.2 and my grade at an 82, at an 81.6, it doesn't seem like a huge sell, but I mean, there's just so many things that you don't have to teach him that are so nice, and honestly, just opening up those hips should not be that hard. There's a lot of quarterbacks that come in as projects when it comes to mechanics, and I think that Harms is not really like that. I think that there's some things to improve, but they're not like everything from the bottom up. I don't think that his drop back is bad. I think that his release is pretty good. Just engage those hips a little bit more, and you just unlock a little bit more velocity, honestly, which would be fantastic. And, for a squad like Colorado Mesa, that is maybe not the most consistent when it comes to, what they look like year in and year out. I think that the upside that they could get with your boy here is pretty fantastic. And I think that that is something that can lead to playoff berths and can lead to just more games here in the RMAC and just more success, honestly. They do a good job of recruiting weapons and being a balanced team, I would say. A lot of the time, they have some quality wins, like University at San Diego, they got a win over, which is kind of interesting. They have, a very close win over South Dakota Mines that I think is a solid school. So, and then they take care of business against who they're supposed to take care of business to. But I think to be one of those truly upper echelon D2s and taken a little bit more seriously in the RMAC here, I think that Harms is the guy that can get that done. And is somebody who, if he has a really solid year, his sophomore year, I feel like he's somebody who could really transfer out onto that D1 FCS level.
Okay. I'm trying to remember who plays for Mesa here that we know of. Sean Kidd plays for them, doesn't he?
Yeah, and they also had I know he's transferring out, but they had Jackson Brush as well.
Yeah, Leslie Richardson and them are also there as well then, if I'm not mistaken, and the old Pine Creek quarterback. So, I will say this. He is a good quarterback. I think he's a D1 level quarterback. he might have to sit over there for a little bit, which it's not the worst thing. Like, you could have a good 2 years, right? 2 or 3 years and be fine, but I do think he's another Colorado D1 quarterback who's playing on the D2 level. And honestly, I'm just excited for him. I think it's a good opportunity for him to get in there, develop a little bit, right? You got some quarterbacks to look at, some Colorado guys to look up to, and then, hopefully compete for a starting position on that team. And so I'm really excited for him. It's been really special, like, watching him develop over the years. I remember when he first took over for Jordan Wolverton. It was some rough. I mean, it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best either. It was some rough sledding, and so that sophomore year was tough. Junior year, he definitely got better, right? That was definitely something we saw. And then from junior to senior year, he took a leap that I don't think either you or myself, Kodey, really expected him to take. We probably expected somebody else to be in his spot here, honestly. But that leap from junior to senior year, putting in so much work, getting efficient, throwing a deeper ball, getting bigger and whatnot as well, you got to respect that. And so with that progression in mind, you could only imagine what it will look like in college, right? And so that makes me really excited for his future. And yeah, honestly, don't have too much more to say, but I will say this: shout out Josh Bates, who did tell us look out for Tyler Harms here in a couple years, and he was right. He was right. He's been a great quarterback, and he's the number 2 quarterback in Colorado in this class of 2024 here for a reason, for sure. So there you go there. But don't have too much more to.
Josh Bates, future PMC scout.
I know, Josh Bates, probably future NFL scout. Realistically, he's probably got a future in it, But yeah, no, great guy over there. PMC fan for sure, just like Harms here.
Boomer Sooner.
So with that being said, Kodey, do you want to go ahead and talk about honorable mentions? We have a lot of them. I feel like probably closer to the bottom was where it was really close, where we were considering a good amount of guys.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to give these guys their flowers, especially because we've covered so many of these guys for so long, and we've got to meet them, and they're all awesome. The first guy off our list was Bronco Hartson, state champion, and we really like his upside. He had a total grade of 80.3. And then, speaking of state champions, on the 3A level, Rylan Cooney, it was tough because and it stinks, and I also am like somebody who has suffered from this, but frame and size is unfortunately a part of being evaluated as a prospect, because as a quarterback, this dude, he scored an 80.9 on my scale and a 79 on Simon's, and that's with both of us giving his frame a 3, which is just brutal, pretty hard to overcome, but man, is he just really exciting and great at a lot of things that you want him to be great at. So kudos to both of those guys for, being state champions. Kudos to the 3A level, actually, for Harms at 2, and then Hartson, Cooney, and Hoffman at 6, 7, and 8, respectively. Jaden Hoffman, he's a stud here. Once again, just another 3A guy just off the list out of Severance. And then on the 1A level, Wyatt Sprague, got to be one of the closer quarterbacks from the 1A level to making this list. This was, this class was an interesting one, because I feel like Coach V said it's pretty grouped here at 5 through 8, basically, or 5 through 10. So Sprague here narrowly misses out of Holyoke. Love the Sprague family. Shout out to another PMC fam and Miles and whatnot. And Wyatt, it was fun watching him cook against Strasburg early in the season. Kurt Rossner, he was a 1-year starter at Heritage. I feel like if he was allowed to play his junior year, he probably would have had a stronger chance of making this list, honestly. But he just narrowly misses out. And then, obviously, Coach V, I'm going to let you have your moment with these guys here after I shout them out here. And Shanoa, obviously, and then Bruce out of Greeley Central and Cheyenne Mountain, respectively. I'll give you your time to shout them out before talking number 1 guy. Jake Jones out of Chatfield, another state championship guy, and somebody who utilized, absurd... what's the extension of plays, honestly. And then Frankie Dardano, shout out Victor Orta at Denver North, and also at his time at Kennedy. He has two guys that were pretty close to making this list in Dardano and Cisneros last season, who are both talented athletes, and he got them to open up the field quite a bit here. So shout out to my guy Victor over there. Hopefully he figures out how to do Dynasty for our next fantasy league. And then the last guy that we took a look at here who didn't quite make it was Reichen Doggard out of Lutheran here. Coach V, I want to hear what you have to say about these honorable mentions, because, we've watched a ton of these guys, either from their freshman season or from their sophomore year when they started, or, just this entire class. This class is kind of what gives me perspective on what we've been doing, how long we've been doing it for, and, it's one of the things that, while we have plenty of interactions that can make me roll my eyes, it's thinking about this class that really makes me smile and appreciate what we've been able to do and the people we've been able to meet.
Yes, no, for sure. Before I get to my guys, I do want to talk about some of the other guys here that you didn't mention. Jaden Hoffman, he was somebody that I actually got to watch him play his sophomore year against, I don't know if he got into the Eden game now that I'm thinking about it. But I saw him get into the TCA playoff game where they upset them in the Springs and brought forth a pretty iconic segment where I flamed TCA, but a lot of it was because he was so good at such a young age there, and then he continued to develop his junior year, fought some injuries, but came back from that senior year, very polished year. I'm just going to say this, if they allowed him to throw him the ball a little bit more, I think it would have allowed me to evaluate a couple other things a little bit more honestly. But there were some issues. There's still those 79.2. He was literally a point off from making this top 5 list. For me, that is. So there you go. I like his game. He's going to continue to develop. He's a great athlete. He's going to find a home somewhere, and I'm going to root for him because I love him as a player. He's a great dude as well. So he's going to be just fine there. Bronco Hartson, oh my God. Last year's playoff run, special. And it's arguably one of the top football moments for me, just being able to watch him playing in that state championship against Lutheran, seeing them get down early, seeing Bronco make some kind of bad mistakes in that state championship game, and then just erase it after the first quarter and storm back with Roosevelt leading a great comeback there, making some big-time plays, starting with that first touchdown to Tucker Peterson and just continuing to play at a high level. And then this next season, his senior year, actually, in my opinion, taking a good step forward here as far as mechanics go, arm accuracy, understanding of the game as well. And I think he would be a really solid quarterback project to take on either on the D2. Well, on the D2 level, I think he'd play a lot sooner. But on the D1 level, if you took him on as a project, that could be really interesting. On the D2 level, if you give him a year or two, that could be really interesting as well. And just a great all-around athlete, great kid, and like his brother, Brig Hartson from a couple years ago, who was an honorable mention. I think he's a great guy just in general and someone you want to have in your locker room. So love him. Rylan Cooney, got to mention him as well. He is arguably the reason Blake Barnett dropped for me. Here's the thing. Kodey and Gideon, they really hyped up Blake Barnett's performance. And that was at the same time as I was watching Rylan Cooney just absolutely piece up a Lutheran defense that has been solid all year and just make big play after big play after big play after big play and really carry, in my opinion, Holy Family to a state championship. I don't think they even make the playoffs without him, to be honest with you. So for them to win it with him is insane to me. And so I had so much respect. And so for me to hear that Blake Barnett was playing at such a high level, I thought he'd be playing like Rylan Cooney, and he didn't. I watched the game, and Rylan made as many big plays as Blake made, and this isn't to hate on him, but he made as many big plays as Blake made in one quarter than Blake made in that whole game. And that's just a testament to how explosive of a first quarter he had in that state championship game against Lutheran, and also the second quarter. I'll say first half as well. It just had a great first half and controlled the game in the second half, and so a lot of respect to him. If he was 5'10", he would have probably made our list, but I have stood next to him, and I am not I'm 5'8", so I'm just gonna throw that out there. And yeah, so there you go there. Now talking about some of these other guys, Frankie Dardano, shout out Victor, quarterback whisperer. He is one of the best assistant coaches and quarterback coaches, OCs, in the entire state of Colorado. So keep an eye out on him. The work he's been able to do with Frankie was next level. Dardano was somebody that I actually got to watch his sophomore year against Lutheran, I want to say. And it was a tough go, but he toughed it out and he played really hard. And just seeing him being able to develop these last couple years has been great as well. Now, I want to talk about these last two guys because I feel like I have a really good relationship with them. One, Jano Trujillo, he is the quarterback I've been watching for the longest amount of time since he was a sixth grader, basically. And for him to overcome all he did at Greeley Central, and I think this last year really turned around that program. I mean, they beat some good programs in Cheyenne Mountain, Silver Creek, some solid programs at least, which you go back 4 or 5 years, it would have been unthinkable for Greeley Central to even be within a couple scores of those teams, but they beat them his senior year. And so I really loved how much he's been able to progress. Unfortunately, just a tough situation, just so many different coaches and OCs and different systems and some, COVID, he started his freshman year there, so there was also that as well. So it was just a tough go, but I think if he gets the opportunity to compete on the next level, he could be a D1 guy, is all I'm saying. I see a lot of Baker Mayfield, but in a good way, in his game. And I'm rooting for him, per usual. He knows that. His pops knows that as well. And they're just great people over there, so shout out to them. And then shout out lastly to Bruce Archambault. Shorter quarterback, 5'10", 178, but he actually was my 5th best quarterback, I want to say, at an 80 overall. I've been able to watch him since his sophomore year. Started against Falcon in a key game that they needed to win to make the playoffs and go to win the conference and then make the playoffs, and he played well in that game. And ever since then, he's played in big time game after big time game. Just really unfortunate that I wasn't able to watch him this year. Was supposed to watch him against Greeley Central, but unfortunately he got hurt in a game where he broke his hand and still threw broke parts of his hand and still threw for 300 yards. And that was his throwing hand that he hurt, by the way. And I think he's going to be great on the next level. Unfortunately, he is a little undersized. I think he's pretty much exactly 5'10", but throws the ball well. Great improvising. Throws really well against pressure, too. Had a great game against Vista Ridge, and so I'm rooting for him as well. I think if you just give him an opportunity, he's going to turn up. He's going to push everyone in that quarterback room, if not take lead of that quarterback room. And so, just a lot of players that we got to watch since their sophomore years, and, players that we got to watch before that even as well here. But now that we've given out our flowers, there could only be one number one quarterback here in the state of Colorado, Kodey. And this was a player that we got to see play in his sophomore year and have an excellent debut all the way to the end. Great first game, great last game. Kodey, why don't you go ahead and introduce him here?
Sweet. There can only be one, and you already know it's got to be someone from the Centennial League. Liam Zarka out of Grandview High School, the Air Force commit. And, shout out to him committing to Air Force because this dude can uncork some long bombs on the football field. I'm talking an 8.8 in arm power. I'm talking an 8.8 in accuracy. I'm talking an 8.7 timing on throws. I'm talking an 8.7 throw on the run ability. Look, his zip in tight windows is something to behold, honestly. And on top of that, he's an awesome athlete as well. He's somebody who can break the pocket. I mean, I want to say one of the first plays that he ever made as a starter his sophomore year was like an 80-something yard touchdown run against Pomona, who that year specifically was a playoff team, I should mention. So, in his season debut, in his career debut. So, I think that between that as well as just his ball placement on passes over the middle where he goes underneath safeties and behind linebackers is just nuts. And then he beats those same linebackers with his legs, which is just, I mean, it's a tough day to be a linebacker going against the Grandview offense with Liam Zarka at the helm. Mechanically speaking, you know, I think that his windup is tucked in and it comes out pretty quick, so that helps out quite a bit. And I also think that his pocket movement is superb, breaking at the right time and also throwing, you know, while off platform in the right spots. And his touch is the best in the class, I think is the pretty easy way to put it. So those are all of my praises here. Coach V, I want to hear about your praises here before we talk about some things that could improve. But, I mean, it's not much, honestly, either way.
Yeah, no, Liam Zarka has been the truth. Oh my gosh, this year has really sold me on him. I knew he'd be in this mix somehow, like in the top 5 mix somehow, but I wasn't sure quite where. I knew maybe he'd contend for that number 1 spot here. And I mean, here he is at number 1. And the games that really sold me was when they played Arapahoe this season. Didn't beat him. Did not beat Arapahoe in the regular season. But what I saw from him was special. Made some mistakes, was a little shaky early on, but he really brought it together here for Grandview. And this was a Grandview team that, outside of Liam Zarka and probably Zay Nito for sure, not the most amount of talent compared to the last couple years. I mean, last year they had probably a line that was top 1 or 2 in the state of Colorado with a couple D1 guys over there, and then they lose it, right? And unfortunately, there kind of went the running game as well, as it was just not as good after that. And so they really leaned on Liam Zarka this year, and that was pretty apparent in the Arapahoe game as well. And just the number of throws he's able to make, just zipping into tough spots. One throw in particular I'll always remember, he's kind of rolling out here, and then he just zips one to Zay Nito near the sideline for a touchdown. A really tight window, great coverage, but just a special throw. Honestly, NFL type throw, if I may say so. Just a great throw right into Zay's breadbasket there, and he brings that in for a great touchdown. And I mean, just a number of times I've been able to see Liam just step up in the pocket and deliver a strike over the middle. It's been special, you know. And I will say this, watching his film against Grandview, against Chatfield in that playoff game, I mean, he was tough, man. He was definitely tough. He was able to, I mean, just keep Grandview alive against a Chatfield team that had so many weapons in a very big and long, or just a very prolonged, I should say, shootout that took forever, it felt, where Grandview ultimately just didn't have enough firepower to keep up with Chatfield. But Liam Zarka kept them in that game, in that playoff game, and he made so many great throws and plays over the middle, on time, looking off guys. Like, he was in his bag that game. And on top of that, like you said, he could run the ball too. Gave him an 8.5 for that. That wasn't exactly something I was expecting, but he had some great scrambles, you know, and I didn't think he was like that, but he definitely is, and I think that'll translate well to the next level. I mean, he's made so many big plays, and I'm gonna stand by this comparison, but reminds me a lot of Matthew Stafford, you know, coming out of high school and whatnot. Obviously, Stafford playing in Texas, it's different and whatnot, but Zarka here, I mean, just his throw power and his ability to throw it at different angles reminds me a lot of Matthew Stafford, and so I really, you know, like his game there. I realized I didn't go over many grades here, so I'm just going to list them real quick. 9 for arm power, 8.6 arm accuracy, 8.6 timing on throws, 8.8 mechanics fluidity, 8 for decision-making skills. I think it could be better at sometimes. More inconsistent than not, but I think when he's on, he's on. 8.5 scramble ability, 8.8 throwing the run, 8.5 pocket awareness. I would say all mine right away. 8.3 pocket movement, 8.2 frame for an overall grade of an 85.3. Honestly, don't have much to nitpick. My lowest grades for him were his frame, which, I mean, I think he's going to be able to put on some weight and be just fine, so that's not concerning. And pocket movement, which was actually the second highest out of everyone on this list. But I do think he could be a little bit more efficient moving in the pocket and whatnot, or, I mean, just footwork-wise, moving in the pocket. But other than that, he's a pretty well-rounded player. I think, my lowest grade was actually his decision-making skills at an 8, but even then, I feel like that probably should not be an 8. That should honestly probably be an 8.3. I don't know why it's an 8 right now, so I'm just going to change that right now.
Live update.
So he's an 85.6. That's weird. I could have swore that was a lot higher, but...
Wait, your final grade is now... Okay, wait, no. I was looking at the wrong tab. I thought we had the same score again.
No. Close, but not quite. So, great player, though. Great player. Good all-around player. I think he can be a little bit sharper when making some decisions, but I can't tell if that's some Grandview play calling or whatever. We know how Grandview gets down and how they use players. So, there is that. Not the most efficient. Not the worst, but sometimes not the most efficient. So, there you go.
I think... The decision making for me being at an 8.1 was when he got away with a touchdown that should have been an interception.
Oh yeah, off the tip,
which helped his arm power, but it was literally off the chest pads of a defender in that Arapahoe. Like, that was an interception, but he just threw it so damn hard it just bounced off of the chest pads, and it was just a gift wrapped touchdown for the receiver. I'm just like, bro, why are you throwing that? And I feel like his velocity gives him the confidence to make some throws that maybe he shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I still feel like he goes through reads, you know what I mean? And he's not throwing it like into double coverage like all the time or anything like that. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not. He's pretty efficient for the most part. That's something that I really liked going from junior to senior year. I think there was definitely an uptick in him making better decisions as far as the throwing goes and delivering certain throws and whatnot. So there is that, But I mean, I think this is pretty well deserved though. He's pretty put together and he committed to Air Force early on. I don't know. Kodey, what do you think about that?
Well, I was watching the Air Force Bowl game against, what's that? I don't want to say Jamestown. It was, wow. It shows you, obviously their opponent didn't really show up to play, I don't think. James Madison, that's what it was. And, I was watching that game and I'm watching the throws and I'm like, Liam Zarka could make that throw. Liam Zarka could run similar. I don't know if he's as athletic as the quarterback that they currently have, but I do think that he's a good fit. I think that he's somebody who can excel in this system and utilize his athleticism to its maximum and then make some throws downfield, on some of those play actions that teams are going to bite on. And, Air Force is, like we've mentioned before, the most successful college program in Colorado right now and have been for the past half decade. And I think that Zarka will continue to contribute to that. I think that they're going to be a problem in the Mountain West. I think that there's, it's nice to have like some familiarity because I know that, that Ralston Valley and Grandview squads, they were pretty back and forth and close in some ways. So, the fact that he's going to have Johnson there and also his teammate, who is an honorable mention on our edge rusher list, Nkongolo Wa-Kalanji here, he's also committed to Air Force. Gideon actually, following that Grandview and Chatfield game that he attended, go ahead and check out that recap. He had an interview with Wa-Kalanji about that. And so they're excited to have some familiar faces down in the Springs. And I really think that he's poised to make some serious plays and probably have some pretty signature college football moments, at least in regards to Air Force and some of the games that they play in.
Yeah, no, for sure. I will say this. I think he probably could have played on the Power 5 level or developed as someone on the Power 5 level. Definitely Group of 5, definitely FCS, but happy to see him at Air Force down here in the Springs. You best believe when he gets that first start, I will be at that game because I still haven't been to an Air Force game, but I'd love to see him go put on for Air Force and do do his thing, for Colorado. He's a great quarterback. I think he fits that system really well. Like you said, I also watched some of that game. We didn't watch it together, which was interesting, but we watched it separately, I guess. So I would also agree that he could do a lot of those things. I feel like maybe, okay, he's not as fast as their current quarterback, I don't think. But, he has enough speed where he could still run that offense and be fine and make a lot of those throws that, he made and whatnot. And so I think Liam Zarka will be fine. And, give him some time, and I feel like there's going to be a very good chance that he will be competing for that starting position here in the near future. So, yeah. But I don't have too much more to say. That is the end of this top 5 series, though. Kodey, do you want to take us home here and wrap it up, or do you want me to do it?
I think you should do it.
Great. So, our top 5 quarterbacks in the class of 2024 is Erie's Blake Barnett, Ralston Valley's Logan Madden here at 4, Paul Mitchell from Widefield at 3, Durango's Tyler Harms here at 2, and then your number 1 quarterback in the class of 2024 is Grandview's Liam Zarka. Thank you so much for rocking with us. Some of you might not be rocking with us anymore, but thank you so much for rocking with us. If you did get this far in the episode, we really appreciate all the love and support. Go ahead and continue to show that to us on Playmakers Corner, or at Playmakers Corner on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter /X, and TikTok, YouTube as well. TikTok and YouTube, we're posting clips of some of these players' highlights if you want to check it out there, as long as snippets from each episode. That should be coming out here. And, I'm really excited for this, but women's flag football is right around the corner. We got some great teams, some great football ahead of us, and, really excited for... just excited for the season and looking forward to what it brings us here as we go into, I believe, our 3rd year covering college women's flag football. So make sure you follow us for all of that. But I have been one of your co-hosts, Simon Villanos.
And I have also been along for this top 5 journey, Kodey Stoffer.
We'll see you next year.